Hi, everybody. I'm Kirk Spano, and I am the investing group leader at Margin of Safety Investing. Today, I want to cover some things in Seeking Alpha Premium that you may or may not be using, but that I use almost every day. One of my favorite things to use are the screening functions. So I'm going to show you some of the ways that I find investment ideas. So you should be able to see my screen now. And on the front page of Seeking Alpha, you will see this column on the left-hand side. And while all the content here is awesome, I very regularly go to the stock screener. And there are plenty of pre-built screens by Seeking Alpha that you can use. I actually use them to start my screening process, and then I change the screen. So I use these as kind of the backbone, and then I change things to the criteria that I want. And voila, I have several screens here. I think I have a dozen screens here that I use pretty regularly. What I want to show you first is the Midcap screen, because this is the one that I think is where we can find a lot of alpha. These are companies that are growing in most cases. Sometimes they're dividend growers, and they are not yet in the S&P 500. So if we can find those companies today that will be in the S&P 500 tomorrow, we can generally do very well. Now, this screener here is something that I've built, and I just want to show you how I did it. With the edit function, I pick out what I want in the screen. And you can see that I use the EPS revisions, and I have that right at the top. Why do I have that at the top? For those of you who have been around a while, or you see those annoying AI-generated ads all over the place, Zacks research service, long time ago, used to be one of the only services out there that would give you the earnings revisions from the Wall Street analysts. And those are valuable because as all the analysts get the one side, when they're all saying buy, the stock is usually already bought, and there's not a lot of point in buying it. But when the first analysts start to say, hey, this stock that's out of favor, you should probably take a look at, here's our thesis on why it's going to be better in the future, that's usually pretty powerful. So this tool, the EPS revisions, can help you find the inflection points for a lot of companies to improve. So I have this set at A+, A minus, B+, B, B minus. I really want the revisions to be going in a positive direction. Now, I could probably actually stretch this all the way down and include the C's, and you might get a little bit even earlier view. You have to check the direction of the revisions, though. So it does take a lot of legwork. This is just the first step. And I'm also looking for the Seeking Alpha analyst rating, because the crowdsourcing approach to research really is powerful. And if you can catch the newer trends, you want to be early, but not too early, you can generally make a lot of money investing. I'm looking for growth in particular. I don't really want momentum. I don't want something that's already bid up. So a lot of times I will take the A's out of here, but this is a starting point. And I never want an F. Why? It's an extreme. And typically stocks get extreme for a reason. There are exceptions, and sometimes I'll add this back in and play around with it, but not very often. As we get here, we can see in the mid-cap space from $1 billion to $20 billion is how I define it, and you can narrow that if you want to. Once I rank for earnings revisions, you can start to take a look at a lot of different companies. I'm a pretty big fan of what it spits out, but 277 companies, right? That's an awful lot. So as we go through here, we can screen this different ways. We can tighten it up. I definitely would stick with the very positive earnings revisions. I think that we can go to the profitability and probably take out these D's, right? All of a sudden, we're down to 244. And we can take out the A's for momentum because they're probably already priced pretty expensively. Now, all of a sudden, we've cut 100 stocks from the list. Valuation. Well, the D's are probably more likely overvalued. Now we're down to 92. And you can see how this creates an even tighter list for you. Now we're down to 92. And I'm going to save that because that is actually where I gravitate to. Now all of a sudden we have different stocks with high profitability that are pretty interesting. I also have a large cap stock screener, very similar to the mid cap. And what we're finding is that not a lot of large caps or mega caps are hitting my screens. And this is still set up to be pretty broad. You see the valuations, just very few things that are undervalued. And that means that index, the SP 500, might have a bit of a valuation correction at some point. One of my favorite screens is the stocks with a short squeeze potential. And the way that I set this up is pretty specific. I am looking for stocks with a short interest more than 6%, and then similar things to what I showed you before. And I will tweak these, right? I will tweak these. So right now, we're taking a look at stocks that are showing a pretty good earnings revision potential into a high short interest. So if these analysts are right, that means that short interest is going to shrink. You're going to get a surge in the stock price. Some of these I know pretty well. Flowtech, I knew that way back when the fracking boom started. Innovative Industrial Properties. This is a stock that we have a position in. Why? Because President Trump has indicated that he's probably going to re-rate marijuana at some point and make it much easier for that market to exist. So when you go over to momentum, you see still a D on momentum. If you rate by momentum and you find some of the stocks that are just not showing any type of appreciation in the short term, you might be able to find some good investment ideas. They're heavily shorted. The price hasn't been going up lately. It's probably been going down. Innovative Industrial has been chopping sideways, and that's a signal for when you might want to buy it. If you go through some of these, and you might find some really good ideas. Now, as Warren Buffett said, and as Philip Fisher, who Warren Buffett cites, you have to learn about the companies. This is just a shortcut to help you get started, to build your list of companies to read about. After you do the deep dive, after you get the scuttlebutt, after you learn about the industry, after you ask questions like, what does company A think about companies B, C, and D, and that are competitors there? Are they afraid of them? Do they think they're going to wax the floor with them? What do they think? Competitors usually have pretty good takes on each other. So these screening tools, I think, should be in your toolbox. And if you play with them, you will start to get lists, and some of these lists will overlap. Innovative Industrials in the mid-cap list as well. You might find some very, very good ideas. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope you took something away on how to use the Seeking Alpha Premium platform to do your research. Don't forget to click the link below this video to check out my investing group, Margin of Safety Investing. And I hope to see you there soon. Thanks for watching. Have a great investing experience.